And for much more on the process playing out, we're joined by I-24 News senior U.S. correspondent Mike Wagenheim spoke with State Department spokesperson Morgan Ortagus about the latest diplomatic breakthroughs for Israel brokered by the White House. Take a listen.
At the State Department, our goal is how do we, through diplomatic channels and through support and aid and all the various mechanisms that we have, how do we help Sudan get towards elections, get off the state sponsor of terrorism list, which the president now has notified Congress that he will do, and how do we help them for their long-term stability of this incredibly small and new democracy? I think it's incredibly encouraging that their leaders have been bold and have made this choice, and it's going to open up a lot of opportunities. There will be delegations between Israel and Sudan that are meeting. We obviously hope, we hope that they follow the path of UAE and Bahrain, where there's economic relationship, trade, cultural exchanges, people visiting each country. Actually, when I was with Secretary Pompeo, I was in Khartoum about 6 weeks ago, and we took the first flight from the first direct flight, nonstop flight from Israel to Khartoum. So it's certainly a momentous day, but I really think that you have captured the essence of what the State Department does moving forward and helping Sudan get on the path towards elections, now get off the state sponsor of terrorism list. It's not going to be easy. As you said, there's a lot of different voices in Sudan. There's a lot of different opinions, but that is normal in a democracy, and that's the kind of thing that we want to encourage and hope that thrives in a positive manner.
We're learning about the details of this agreement. There is at least one hang-up that we can spot here, is that Sudan wants to have immunity for any claims related to 9/11. That's working its way through Congress. However, Senator Bob Menendez, Democrat from New Jersey, has put a hold on that. He doesn't want Sudan to be absolved of those claims. Where does that stand right now? And could that be a possible sticking point that unravels this deal? Is that a foundational point of this agreement, that Sudan gets those immunity against claims related to 9/11?
Well, listen, there's nothing in this deal that stops 9/11 victims from getting compensation. And in fact, when you look at the broader compensation piece, Sudan has put over $335 million into escrow to settle claims as it relates to other terrorist incidents. That was incredibly important for us. Remember that no administration, when you look at the Cole bombing and you go through all the list of terrorist attacks that Sudan was involved in, which is why they were on the state sponsor of terrorism list, there's been no administration that has been able to successfully get compensation for these victims, for their families. So we are incredibly proud that we have gotten to this point. There is, as you point out, the state sponsor, when it comes to state sponsor of terrorism, consultations with Congress, they do have to pass the peace legislation in order for this to move forward. So at the State Department, David Hale, our special ambassador to Sudan, Daniel Booth, all of these gentlemen will be working closely with the Congress. But listen, we have had very encouraging signs, not only from the Congress, but just from many people who have been working on this Sudan issue for many years. I mean, you're talking about a place where it wasn't that long ago where genocide was happening. So I know that anybody who's been working on foreign policy as it relates to Africa knows, as Jared Kushner put it today, right? Remember, after the 1967 war, we had the 3 no's, and then now we're at the 3 yeses today. And so there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be hiccups. Anytime you do any of these deals, this is why it took 26 years to get to one of these deals, right? Whenever UAE went first, within 29 days we had Bahrain, and now I think it's been 6 weeks or so, and we have Sudan. Jared made a really funny point in the Oval Office. He said, we're making this look easy, but this is really hard. This is really difficult. But we think that it's thanks to President Trump, Mike Pompeo, Jared Kushner, the policies that this administration have put in place that takes years, right? We've been working on this for 4 years, and so now we're at a culmination point, thankfully, thank God.
Through the relationships built with the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, and now we've seen recent strategic dialogues with Saudi Arabia, with the UAE. We've seen a redefinement of Middle East policy vis-a-vis the United States. In terms of Africa, are we looking at a change in policy there as well?
Well, listen, what we are always going to continue to do is to embolden our allies and our friends. And we do pursue diplomacy here at the State Department, is what Mike Pompeo does. But why we're so effective is that we have a different president, we have a different mandate, and we have approached the Middle East and North Africa, from an entirely different perspective, as opposed to giving billions of dollars in sanctions relief to our enemy, to Iran. We have said no, we're not going to do that. We're actually going to embolden our friends. We're going to embolden Israel. We're going to do all the things that American law said that we do, like place the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, right? Instead of passing a waiver every 6 months to ignore the law, we're actually going to follow the law. And so, there's these things that we have been time and time again, if we didn't follow the conventional foreign policy path in the Middle East, that the region would end up in flames. And instead, as the president stated today, there's peace without blood in the sand.